We're here? Oh, that does mean we're here. Okay.
Hot mic. Hot mic.
Hot mic.
Hello,
indeed.
hello, hello.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Rag Company Podcast. I'm Dane Hennen. To my right, Levi Gates.
What's up, guys?
Across from me, Anthony Fisher.
Hey, hey.
And to my left, last but not least, Morgan McMurray.
Hey, guys.
And we're doing this live today. Not necessarily so we can do a bunch of Q&A, but, you know, we just want you guys to follow along. Think it's kind of fun. And it also means that Tim doesn't have to edit this after the fact, so we get it all done in one fell swoop, and we can go on with our days making sure we're putting out the best stuff possible. So,
That's true. That makes it nice and easy.
Yeah, it does. So that's why we're jumping into it today, doing just a live main show, which we can't be distracted by the comments, because when we look at the comments, we tend to fall into that deep, dark hole. Whereas this show, we like to talk about detailing. We like to talk about tell stories, talk about our weekends, and things of that nature.
Chat.
So here's the deal. There's some detailing discussions that we can have here in just a little bit. Do we want to knock out the weekends?
We can knock out
first?
The weekends. It's easy, simple.
It's easy. I want to start with Dane.
Oh,
that's
a great idea. Dane, tell us about your weekend.
Okay, well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I had a very low-key weekend. I watched a lot of Letterkenny because I've been really getting into that lately, and I freaking love that show.
Is that South African show, right?
No, it's Canadian.
Sorry.
South Africa.
But
South
I
African
don't
show.
turn on the subtitles because I can't understand what's being said. I need to turn on the subtitles so I can get more context. So I go, did I hear that? And that way with the subtitles, I know exactly what I heard. But it really, like, that show is, I love it because of the wordplay. There's so much wordplay in it. But anyway, if you haven't ever seen it and you like kind of fast-paced humor, kind of memey a little bit, but oh my god, it's hilarious. Anyway, other than that, I saw Knives Out, the movie. Liz and I went and saw that. We were kind of interested to go see it. Ryan Johnson, the director, obviously. A lot of people were upset when he did The Last Jedi, but he's done some other good movies like Looper and stuff like that. So I was really excited seeing Knives Out, and it was worth it.
How'd you like James Bond in that movie?
With his southern accent.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig with a southern accent is a weird thing.
One of my favorite things in the world, honestly.
Unless you've seen what's that other Soderbergh movie? It's got Adam Driver and Lucky Logan. Logan
Lucky.
Yeah, that is another one where he plays a guy with a
said no
southern
peeking.
accent. So I think Daniel
peeking.
Craig secretly loves playing Southerners or something. Like he loves that accent that comes with that. It's really it's fun to watch.
He does a great job at it.
When you're so used to hearing a British accent come out of the guy, it's really something different. It's exciting. It's new. It's fun. So Knives Out, great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
You already saw it though.
I saw it over a month ago. Actually, is when I saw it, and I think it's on Thanksgiving Day or something around there. But will say, Dane, that it is what starts off as you think like, okay, this is gonna be very Clue-like. Who's the killer? Who's the person?
It's a murder mystery.
It's a murder mystery, but like the way you find out, halfway through.
Well, you just don't talk about it.
No, well, I'm just gonna say the way you find out, you're kind of sitting there like, this is different than I expected. The reveal.
It's very cleverly pieced together in a way that you feel like, oh, they already gave me all the information, and then you realize as you go along, oh, there's more. But they did give you the information.
You go back and forth between like several people, like who did it, and then you eventually find out.
It keeps you guessing even when you feel like, I got it figured out.
So Dane, what day was that? Was that Sunday?
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Saw that on Sunday. Very nice.
So anything else exciting over the weekend?
There was crazy sleet storm that hit outside.
We got a lot of snow.
You asked if the Jag was outside. Of course I wouldn't leave it outside. I said, like any good cat, I made sure it'd spend most of its time when it wasn't hunting indoors.
Okay, he thinks it's a real cat.
Well, I actually think, Dane, I would argue to say that some of the scrappiest cats actually live outdoors.
It's true.
And do some of their best job hunting, being aware constantly of their surroundings.
Heads on a swivel.
Yeah, and so
they gotta eat.
I actually have one of those cats as well, but that's actually a real cat. He's 50-50.
I have seen cats bring me full-size birds to my front door.
I used to have a cat that did that.
It is quite impressive because I'm sitting here thinking, what a gift, right?
Yeah, such a gift.
Such a gift. Let's go ahead and throw this over the barbecue. Let's see what crow tastes like. Yeah. And go from there.
I had a cat. We pulled up in front of our house once, and his name was Oliver. He was a black and white tuxedo.
Yeah.
And he had a little red collar. Very dapper cat.
Yeah.
He came walking down the sidewalk with a bird in his mouth.
Oh.
That was bigger than him. But he had a hold of it, and he was just cruising up, and he saw us, and he was looking at us in the car. And as my wife and I got out, he walked up to the front porch, and our other cat, Louie at the time, our black cat, all of a sudden noticed what Ollie had and started to walk up to him. And Ollie set the bird down as his prize for catching it. Bird wasn't dead. Bird took off flying. And you've never seen a look of disappointment and anger as the look on my cat's face when that bird flew away.
Oh, man.
He was very heartbroken. Needless to say, my wife and I had a very good laugh about it, as well as said some expletives because it scared us. But yeah,
understandably so.
But I love cats. They can walk down the street carrying a bird, proud of it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No, the other part of my weekend that I could briefly touch on would segue into something where you probably need to talk about it, which is sitting behind you right now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So on Saturday, I worked the store, as I sometimes do. These guys don't have to work the store, but every once in a while, there will be a Saturday that comes around where I rotate with the other guys, my parents and John and such. And, yeah, it's mostly just making sure things go okay and I can answer customers if they come in. But there was a point where I was downstairs. I was over answering a question for something, and I kind of heard this bumping sound at the front door, like somebody had opened it, but then it sounded like they weren't getting through. So I go over, and I find that the USPS lady is trying to drop off this package, but it's massive. I mean, it's...
Quit pointing at whatever you're pointing at, Dane.
It's huge. It's like... it's 3 feet tall. So
Dane, have you ever seen a package that big before? Was it jaw-dropping, or were you shocked?
No. Let's just say...
But you tried to lend a hand, right?
She had a hard time getting through the door. They kept bumping into it, turning, bumping.
Oh, I know exactly. That's how it happens.
Eventually, I just had to help get the rotation right, and then
that's right.
was able to get the box inside the store. So we settled that, and that was dealt with. But I felt bad, just like, oh no, you've been doing that for a while.
You just watched her bump into things.
Yeah, just gotta help.
Glad you got it in, Dane.
Yep. So got that, and that's. I guess I can't talk about it until it's Levi's turn to talk, but it was just something funny that happened on that day. Yeah. I got nothing else other than that. Keeping it short.
That was
and
a short weekend for you.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go.
Yeah.
So this weekend I worked on my mom's car.
Okay.
I got it ready. She's doing a lease return. So tonight I'm going to try and get out of here a little bit early
because I got a Hyundai you brought in today.
So she dropped off her car and she wants. Basically, we got to do the old switcheroo. She's doing a lease return on her RAV, and then I'm picking her up in her Hyundai, and then she's going to drop me off at home, and she's going to go home. So
she doesn't want to buy it out?
No, she's already got a Santa Fe she bought new, which I am confused.
So she has 2 mid-size SUVs.
And I heard something about a RAV4, so it sounds like she has 3.
No, she's got a Santa Fe and a RAV4.
Okay.
Those are like the
only got
same
2
vehicle
cars.
with the different
So
manufacturer.
here's the deal. When my mom was previously married,
Okay.
her and her ex-husband, they needed 2 cars.
Okay.
Right? So my mom bought but they realized that they only drove 1 car. It's very strange. Anyway, what they did was they had to buy a Hyundai Santa Fe, and she paid cash didn't pay cash, but bought it.
Yeah.
Financed it. Then her RAV, she got when Toyota was having one of those really great lease. Toyotathon
Great lease
deal.
deals, yeah. Fantastic.
And on the RAV,
Yeah.
it was like about $100 a month to lease it.
Huh. Yeah, I can see why you'd want to do that.
So she was like, put some cash down and then lease it for $100 a month. Like it was like crazy deal.
Yeah.
And it was end of the year kind of stuff. Like they were just trying to get rid of cars.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a great time to buy. And so she bought one or leased it. And her theory was, well, since now we have 2 cars and we're only driving 1, I'll keep the miles down on the white Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put most of the miles on the RAV because it's a lease. And then at the end of my lease, I'll turn the RAV in and I will have a 2.5, 3-year-old Santa Fe with very, very low miles.
Sure.
It's got 8,000 miles on it. So, and then she would drive that. That's her car. Anyway,
Okay.
So that's what she's doing. So I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, that's what my mom's doing. So that's why I brought that today. Had a great weekend. We went sledding with the kids yesterday.
Looked like
Took
fun.
the kids up to Grimes Creek again. There was about 18 inches of snow up there.
Quite a bit, actually.
Watson was... the snow was as tall as he was, which was hilarious to watch. My dog
He's a
loves
corgi,
he loves snow, and they were bred by Vikings.
Oh well.
That's one of the things that's great about a corgi.
Yeah.
But but we went up there, took the kids, had a blast. It was a good little day. Saturday, Carly and I had gotten a babysitter for the kids so we could go to a matinee, go to a movie, and we were going to go see Knives Out. So that morning, we're getting on the Fandango app, all that good stuff. Buy our tickets for the 1:30 showing of Knives Out. And we drop the kids off. We head up to Edwards 21, get there, walk up to the kiosk. It says our tickets aren't found.
What?
Right? So we check the phone. I've got my confirmation number, all that stuff. Walk up to the desk and say, it's not printing out my tickets. Can you print these out? Here's the confirmation number. The girl types it in. She's like, oh, they actually refunded you the money because we canceled that showing. I said, what?
There
She
was
goes,
zero warning.
she goes, yeah, Fandango put the wrong showing. It's actually at 2:30.
Oh, and it's all checked out. Sorry.
No, it was an exact.
Well, it's
like,
an hour later.
it was 1:15, right?
Yeah.
And we were going to 1:30 showing, and so now they said it's 2:30 is the next show. So we were like, and I checked the account. Money was back. If they ever pulled the money. But anyway, it was the fact that that was the only showing.
No warning.
There was no warning, no notification, nothing. And then there literally wasn't anything else that we had wanted to see.
Yeah.
Wanted to see 1917.
Yeah.
But that, again, 2:45 showing. So they had like a 12:45, and so we were like half an hour. It was just it was just like, I don't want to miss anything on that, and I don't. So we both looked at each other. We said, screw it. We went to Costco, like you do on a busy Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the best time to go, as you know.
No. So went in there, got some food, grabbed a couple things that we'd been needing to get, and then went home. Picked up the kids. They were pissed because they wanted to spend the time of when we were gone.
Yeah.
They were like, you're not supposed to be back yet. I said, too bad. Sorry. Come on, we're going. Came back home and spent the rest of the day and just hung out. So I need to say it was very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Those of you that are parents out there, you guys don't have this problem.
Yeah.
And so it's different for you.
But I understand it.
But
just
it is
as,
the hardest part is when it's frustrating is because you take the time to spend thankfully this was a mother-in-law that was watching the kids.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that we don't get that chance very often. And babysitters are expensive. So if you think about having to shell out money for a movie, money for snacks, and then money to pay a person to watch your children not kill each other, which could be anywhere from another $25 to $50 for one night.
Yeah.
Like, the last thing you want to do is go to a restaurant that sucks, go to a movie that sucks. So you kind of plan it out. You're like, this movie we've heard really great things about. We're going to go see it, you know. And the girl at the counter, she's like, bless her heart. She goes, well, there's a Jumanji showing at like 1:30.
We don't have our kids with us.
Carly went and saw that last weekend.
Oh.
Like,
I have been wanting to see that, though.
Well, she said it was good, but Carly went and saw it last weekend. So Carly's like, we're not gonna watch Jumanji. Like, I'm not gonna watch that again. I saw it last Saturday. So it's extremely frustrating and disappointing, and it's just something that you know parents deal with. It's just you're like, and my kids are almost that age where we can go to movies.
Almost.
Like, Augie's already there in the sense of like ability to sit and watch a movie. He's a good movie watcher. Hadley does not have the capacity to sit that long and watch a movie. So like after 30, 45 minutes, she's done and is ready to go. And you can't make her just sit. So
like Benadryl.
a little whiskey on the bottle, you know, and just
brush the gums with them.
Yeah. So thank you for not bringing screaming, crying children into a theater.
But I'm also a movie nerd.
Yeah.
Where I do not like children in a theater. I do not like phones in a theater.
Yeah.
Like, it really pisses me off when people talk during movies. Like, I'm one of those horrible people from the old days where I will be one of those old men that yells at people.
Turns back.
Boomer.
No, I'm going to be that dude that's going to be like screaming at kids to turn their phones off, and like I'll get kicked out of theaters for starting fights because of that stuff. But the point is, like, it's already a big deal for us to go to a movie, and then to have that happen, super disappointing. So we came home, just hung out. But like I said, sledding was a blast. We had a good weekend.
Yeah.
Very simple. I detailed a couple cars.
Not bad. Not bad. And we'll talk about detailing, guys. Don't worry. That's coming up.
Anthony, how was your weekend? Oh, let's do Morgan.
Let's jump over me. Let's go to Morgan.
Bring it.
So, my weekend was just pretty relaxed. On Saturday, didn't really do anything exciting. Just kind of stayed home. It was pretty cold. I didn't really want to do anything, you know, outside or whatnot. I did drive my car this weekend, though, because I knew that it would be snowing and gross out. So I did drive it this weekend. I also tried the new Korean BBQ place.
Ooh,
I think that was Friday night that we went there.
Where's that at, Morgan?
It's over by the mall. It's off Milwaukee, like by the Home Depot.
I know exactly where that's at. That actually used to be
the
Macaroni Grill.
Yeah, so it's right. And I was confused. I was like, where is it? And
Mickey Ray's was falling after that barbecue place.
Apparently, Macaroni Grill is now gone. So sad to see it go.
It was gone for probably 12 years at this point.
Yeah,
well, no, that building's been empty for
empty for
at least
a while. 6
to 8 years.
Yeah.
After the recession hit, that was gone.
There were
it was actually one of the first to go.
Yeah, seriously.
I had friends that were working there when that happened.
At Macaroni Grill?
They literally didn't know about it. Like within like a week or two, they were all laid off.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
it was
and
crazy.
They shut the door. Like they closed.
They closed it, and
like
I think it was one of those situations where they showed up and like the doors were closed, and I was like, oh, we don't have a job anymore. And you actually got pretty good tips at Macaroni Grill, if I remember right, because that was like for prom.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys are going to Macaroni Grill.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
No, and I had that was a very fancy restaurant, fancy establishment. I had a friend whose husband was like a kitchen manager or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or back manager or whatever. Anyway, he was. It was a little stressful for her when she found out that he was no longer making money for that.
Tell us about the Korean barbecue
how was
place. Was it expensive or is it cheap?
It was well priced, I feel like, for what it was, because obviously if you're going to get like a fat plate of meat, then it's going to cost you, especially when it's just obviously never been frozen, so there's a cost. There's a cost.
But you don't actually know if it's never been frozen.
Well, you can
taste it generally.
Especially when it's something that you cook yourself.
If you can't tell, I don't know, man.
So Morgan, the question would be then, okay, so two people, me and Katie, let's say we're looking to go out and get some good Korean barbecue, maybe grab a drink each, right? Have a nice time. How much are we looking to pay for that?
So here's the cool thing about this place.
Buy
I
one,
think
get
it's
one
called,
free.
what was it called? Meditation Garden or something? Magnificent Garden? Something garden. I don't know.
Okay.
But they have like, you know how you can get like dinners for two and it comes with like a bunch of different like things.
It's already like a
And you just like
combo.
share,
Yeah.
you just like share everything. So they had those, and they were starting at like $36, and they went up to like 50 or 60 for two people. But then you can also buy like, you know, separate your own little things. So the plate of, I think it was like marinated pork
Yeah.
that Brandon got was $32 for the plate. And then you just got literally like a plate of meat, which is more than enough for one person. Like me and Brandon split that, and then I just got a thing of fried rice. So our tab was only like $60.
Honestly, for a night out, that's not.
So
that bad.
it really wasn't bad.
Yeah.
For like a sit down restaurant, like you
Yeah.
got to remember this ain't fast food, so
Yeah.
it's like actually a restaurant.
And it
That
was
is
cool
not
because
bad.
it literally was one of the ones where they have, you know, like the grill in front of you and you do
guys
your own
just
Oh, like the
steak.
hook it all
hibachi
up.
style thing.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they have.
Well, we all know that Anthony loves Korean barbecue.
He
does.
And he's gone silent because he's thinking about
He
that
is
meat.
thinking-
Well,
It's
I'm
kinda
I'm
drooling
thinking,
right now.
I'm
It's a little
thinking
gross.
more about like so you said it's like around $60, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can go down to Applebee's, right, and I can get essentially a 3-course meal for two for $30.
I wouldn't give them $10.
It is close to the
Because
same
it's
place.
And
Applebee's,
what I
and
like
I
about
don't
Applebee's
like
is when
that.
you're there, your family.
Ugh.
Or is that the wrong restaurant?
You
I
wanna
think
talk about stuff
that's-
that was frozen
Is that
before.
eating good in the
Gross.
neighborhood? Is what that is.
Gross.
Okay, so sorry, that does sound good, Morgan. I think I probably would do that. My problem with those like this eats for two people, that for me is an eating for one person, right? So
You're
like
big
what-
enough for two.
Like for example, yeah,
Katie doesn't ever eat.
So here's the deal, right? I am probably the weight of Morgan and Brandon combined,
Well, that's a given.
right?
You're not
So
gonna
if you were
know.
to take those two people together, so I would eat both of what they ate, I would be a $60 plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm the weight of both Morgan and Brandon.
I think so. Dane definitely also is. I mean, even
Yep.
though Dane's shorter, he still has.
Yeah.
He's
What
still
is
there.
wrong
He's
with
got the
you?
Gimli strength.
I didn't become a skyscraper. I'm more of a government building, just a little spread out.
Dane and my axe. No,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my
So
God.
what I'm trying to say is that I like the idea of the whole eat for two thing, but like I typically just
You wanna
eat that
eat
So
by
for three.
myself.
here's the
Yeah.
thing:
So you're looking for a
if you
group
can
three.
justify going to Hook and Reel,
Yes.
then you would be fine
That's
going
fair.
to this place.
But
Yeah.
I eat the two plater for me. at
then
Hook
that's
and
fine.
Reel.
You can do that.
Okay, well, Korean barbecue it is then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, if Katie doesn't like Korean barbecue, she only likes the meat that you cook
I got
on
one of those American Express gift cards that I've been dying to
very
use.
nice.
It's got $50 on it. Still got to call it in to activate it.
it. Oh,
It's a
well,
Christmas
that'll be
gift.
nice. Why
So,
don't you tell us about your weekend there, cowboy?
Yeah.
so my weekend actually. So I was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I threw out my back, right, my lower back. So
Well, it was great. You were rescuing some local kids from a fire,
yeah,
and you were carrying 7 kids on your shoulder,
yes.
and
so
that's how you
explains
threw
the
out your back,
shirt.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what ended up
It's
well,
heroic. It was something. Just you're
Yeah.
a hero. I don't want to say the word hero, but you're a hero.
Well, basically, it was a
For what you
Chrysler
did.
Town and Country that had flipped over, right?
Right.
It was on fire. I saved the kids is first off what I did, right?
Okay.
And then I noticed since it was a Town and Country, it had a whole picnic basket in the back, right? Like they did in the commercials back
Right,
in the
yeah.
in the
Wow.
late 90s.
Yeah.
So what I did is I just grabbed that picnic basket, opened it up, and I saw what looked like a picnic tablecloth. I just wore it.
Okay.
And I
Uh-huh.
had it hemmed to look like this.
That's a Dixon
So-
flannel. That is not a picnic table.
Correct. So no. So my
Coulda fooled
so
me.
So,
I threw out my back weightlifting. I was doing some squats.
Are you
used
sure it
I
was
used this-
that?
Yes. I used this bar.
How did you know about the pain?
So here's the deal. It was weightlifting that night. It was totally fine. The next morning, woke up totally fine. I'm stretching, doing all my things I normally do in the morning. And then I was like, oh, I got to feed the dogs before I leave. I bent over, right, to pick up the scooper. My lower back got really warm. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I stood up, and it was sharp, excruciating pain that almost crumbled me. It was so bad.
How much
and
do you think the scooper of food weighed?
It's not about the weight. It's
the
movement. Like, I've done that. I know exactly what you went through there. I've had that happen when lifting rocks for a park bench.
Rocks?
Yeah.
Dane built
For
a park
bench.
He built a park
rocks?
bench out of rocks.
We were building red rocks in my backyard around the fire pit, and one of the things was a bench, and it was like a 300-pound rock that my dad and I were helping lift together, and my back just went, and it was the same thing. Felt warm, then leaned up, and went, oh my God, I can't. And you just kind of hobble your way back into the house.
Yeah, pretty much. So I stood there at the counter.
Thing, yeah.
I didn't know what to do, right? So I'm like, I got to go to work, obviously. Maybe it'll get better. So anyways, it's been about a week now. It's still bad.
Yeah.
It's still crappy. I've been putting biofreeze on. I've been icing it. Took a bath the other day. I've been trying to do all these different things, but it just sucks because I'm sitting here. I'm like, go figure. I'm like consistently getting back in the gym, working out every single day. This happens, right? Why do I even try?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Makes sense, yeah.
So anyway, Friday night, needless to say, didn't do a whole lot. Katie went out and did some stuff with her family. What I ended up doing was, sorry, gotta clear my throat. DJ Cool, let me clear my throat. So basically,
Do I get to be Bismarcky?
I picked up some new weather stripping for under the hood of the Evo, right? So I noticed that
why did you need new weather stripping? That
so
car
when he drives it out in the rain.
So,
but that car doesn't.
When I was doing
is it that poorly deteriorated?
No. So what happened was one time I was taking off some things and I broke a bunch of clips on the weather stripping and I was like, crap, right? Try to find the clips, right? A clip is $5 for one clip. The whole weather stripping piece that comes with clips is $15, right? So I'm like, I'll just buy the new weather stripping. That makes sense, right? So then it was a whole situation of, okay, now I got to remove the rest of this old weather stripping. Do you know how hard it is to remove clips without breaking them in half?
Break them all.
And here's my problem. I did break them. Half of the plastic goes down in this
inside
thing
inside your hood
that you can never get.
Yeah,
and I'm
so
sitting here like, okay, so that's going to be in there forever. Like, how does that fall out?
Yep,
it doesn't. Right? So I'm sitting, whatever, dude. So
you've ruined your car.
So I've ruined my car.
You've got a bunch of pieces of
I
plastic
ruined my car
in the
trying
hood.
to make it better. That's the story of my life.
You need to cut a hole in there, drain hole.
Yeah. So anyway,
so you can shake the hood.
Just so dumb, and so
it's like a piggy bank.
And it's not like you can. It's not like you can get one of those like large magnet things that pull things out. Everything's plastic. What are you gonna do? So
you get a plastic magnet.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
So dumb. And then what I found out too is that my battery, my new mini battery that I bought not even a month ago, already dead.
Well, you haven't been charging it. It's not just gonna sit and hold a charge.
So here's the deal though, right? I had batteries that last, like my motorcycle, for example, right?
But also you're not driving the car. Winter. You still need to have a charge so it can actively pretend it's working.
My dude needs a battery tender.
So here, I have a battery tender,
man,
right?
Come on.
So here's my problem. I start it twice a week, right?
For how long?
I run it for probably 10 minutes and let it idle.
Do you? But you know that doesn't charge it.
Correct. You need to go and drive it.
You
take
just
the alternator.
Every time you've done it, you basically drain it. You drain it twice a week.
So correct.
That's what you do.
Correct. So that's kind of what I've came to the conclusion of, right? And so with that said, that's kind of what I was dealing with Friday night. So I'm sitting here like, okay, crap. I'm going to drive it this weekend.
All you need to do is just sit in your driveway and get it up to 2,000 RPM and just hold it for 20 minutes in your driveway.
Put a brick on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Just let it idle.
Just put a brick on the pedal and it's fine.
Park it in neutral, e-brake it.
So
you're good.
So I'm wondering, Morgan, what kind of weather did you drive in? Because I had horrible weather all weekend.
On Saturday, it was still dry.
Did you have dry weather? I didn't have dry weather.
Sunday was when it was snowing.
Nothing really stuck though, at least out in Meridian area.
Yeah.
Like it all just turned to wet.
Yeah.
But then Sunday morning though, I did pull my car out to take pictures in the cul-de-sac, and then I put it right back in the garage.
Nice, good call.
Saturday I was able to wash. It was nice enough outside and warm enough that I was able to wash my mom's car.
Yeah. That's nice.
Got the pressure washer solution package all out. Got it all washed, foamed, scrubbed.
There you go.
Looking great.
You just reminded me of something else I did this weekend.
You've washed your cars?
No, I bought an air compressor.
What?
I totally spaced on that. I was like, oh yeah.
What solution package did you buy?
Let's come back to that at the detailing.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a bit. But thank you for reminding me.
Back to my thing. Friday night did that. Pretty much not a whole lot going on there, right? Saturday woke up, back pain is in full effect, And I'm sitting here like, okay, so is my day ruined, right?
Yeah.
Like, am I not going to be able to do anything today, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much didn't do crap. Literally one of those days where I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm looking at my phone for like 6 hours, right? Thinking I'm doing
TikTok.
things.
You spent 6 hours on your phone?
Oh, easily just watching YouTube videos, and it was ridiculous.
I do that every day.
And so
I do that on my TV at home. I don't need to use my phone.
No, Dane, I don't have the patience for that. And so I like instant. I want it to be instant. My phone's instant. So the Saturday, dude, I didn't do jack, and I felt really bad about it. And I was like, this is not like what I wanted to do.
Right.
Because every time I have a day where I don't do anything, I feel very unfulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so, but my back was hurting. So I'm like, what else am I supposed to do? So then, so was it Sunday morning or Saturday? Well, it was either one of the mornings. I can't even remember at this point. I did go and see 1917, right?
Right.
Fantastic movie. Probably one of the best war movies I've ever seen. Filmed beautifully with the full like long cut scenes and everything that they had going on.
Roger Deakins, my
but
friend.
It was something like, you had your moments where things were intense. You had like a couple different emotional things. The one thing is that the very end of it, you don't really feel like any satisfaction from the ending, but I'm pretty sure that's just how World War I was.
Kind of like the real thing.
No, it's
like I think you think that's how everybody felt when World War I was finished. Like, okay, so what was like?
No, World War I is one of my favorite world wars.
Was it really?
Bill, just because you got to
You
think
have a
about
favorite
like
World War.
Well, you think about like how difficult it was,
About that.
how hard it was, the technological like advancements that they had. That was the first time like they were right on this cusp where
Super
they had
sketchy
like,
in those planes.
they
And
had
stuff,
super
like,
sketchy planes,
Yeah.
but they were still doing trench warfare.
Yeah.
And so they would literally be within miles of each other and never see each other, but then they would meet, and sometimes they would kill each other, sometimes they'd just hang out because they didn't. And if they captured a group, like sometimes the prisoners would just help, because there was still this weird unification where people weren't, none of them knew why they were at war.
Yeah.
None of them knew, like most of them, like
We're just here to help.
They were having
There were a lot of kids out there. They were scared.
There was a lot of kids,
yeah.
and there was a lot of wars happening, like where the battles were happening were in towns that most, like some of the platoon, literally like their families lived in. And they were like, 2 miles that way, like my mom's hanging out, I could go hang out with her.
They just leave.
But they couldn't leave. Like if they left, they would go AWOL. They would be court-martialed. Like, so it was super stressful, and I'm amazed at the people that lived through that and the people that had to fight through that. And that's one of the reasons I like that one.
Chemical warfare too.
And, the first start of using that.
Some of the most heinous instances right off the bat.
Yeah.
There,
Well, what you find is that I think the whole movie just did a really good job of kind of like capturing like how those wars went. And like the fact that you're right, like you have all these trenches, right? And you have like all this area in between each of these trenches, right? Which is just a wasteland.
No man's land. Yeah.
Because it was all bombed out and
because
shelled
it was
out.
just bombed out, and so they're just sitting in their trenches, like, okay, like are they gonna leave? Like maybe they're gonna get bored, and then we're gonna proceed further, right? Like how do you know when one person leaves or when one person stays, right? Because there was no radio signals like of that nature then, and so you're sitting there like, well, this is it, right? Like what are we doing? So you're right. The planes are sketchy, which is really, you see that in the movie. How
They literally
sketchy.
have to pick up the bomb and like throw it out the
They're canvas.
side.
Some of them are just
it's made of fabric
and wood.
They're literally like, there's a scene where they're in the movie and they're looking up, they're like, oh, look at that, they're dog fighting, right? And it's like the slowest moving dog fight you've ever seen. You're like, wow, this isn't really that exciting. This is
But that's how it
they
actually
could still
was.
like pull out guns and shoot each
like
other.
literally
Yeah,
pistols.
they would literally pistol each other.
And so like that was kind of interesting, but also the fact that like so they were so engulfed in the trenches, right, that when they did see each other, they didn't know what to do.
Right.
They weren't trained to like, oh crap, we're actually fighting right now.
Or they would connect. Like their trenches would connect all of a sudden, and they like, oh my gosh, we're in the other people. And
In most
like,
cases, you're not dealing with like hardened veterans and stuff.
Well,
They're kids.
A
who
lot
are,
of
like,
them.
fresh
A lot
at
of them
this
weren't
and-
physical. Like the countries didn't have the capacity to create armies at that. Like so they created armies, but the armies, like some of them didn't learn, and then the run up to that, they didn't have the gear. Like the English, one size fits all uniforms. For
it's
folks.
like there's huge, like all these you can see the baggage that people had.
And then they had to carry stuff, and then it was all of a sudden another 75 pounds on them.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to
didn't have
recommend to
to
people who are
learn,
interested in this stuff is watch They Shall Not Grow Old.
Yeah.
That's an
another good
amazing
movie. That's a really good
documentary.
movie.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson, like the
Well, and
stuff
that-
they did to bring it to life. Is
That's
amazing.
what I love learning about World War I, and then I love World War II because you see the change in the
It was the
military.
result of all the unresolved tensions
Right.
from the first one.
But then also just the change in technology.
Yes.
For
Crazy,
for
yeah.
how they did stuff. All of a sudden, like it was a leap of 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
It was only 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
was just long enough to be a
was
while,
a generational.
but short enough that it was still fresh on their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty crazy. So
well, you have to imagine, like, okay, so it's 1917 or whatever it is. It roughly it started at 1914, ended around like I think everything was said and done by like 1918 or whatever it was, and then 20 years later, it's 1938, right?
Yeah.
That's when all the crap starts happening. It starts getting crazy again, and I'm sitting here thinking, 20 years is not that long to rebuild an army, right? Especially for Germany, and then also to this new guy comes into power, as all this propaganda, whatever it is. I learned all about all this stuff when I was over there, and it was just kind of interesting. They built up this whole other army. You have to think, what kind of balls does Germany have? No offense, to say like we just got our butts kicked, right? But like we're coming back again.
Well, it was because the country was poor. Like the country had no money. They held
crazy.
all the
Economic
other countries
anxiety.
held them accountable for starting World War I,
Yeah.
and basically taxed the ever living snot out of them to where they had no money and people were starving, and they felt like this new generation that was actually working and coming up. And if you think about it, like Morgan and I are 20 years apart, and so you think about like if I had to fight it at 20, and now I've spent the last 20 years trying to build it. But, like, I'm trying to get things going, and then Morgan's generation comes in and goes, wait, now I'm having to inherit this, like, broke economy that you messed up?
Yeah.
So, of course, somebody comes in and goes, no, screw that. We're going to take it back. That's why this younger generation was able to, because they were like, that wasn't us.
Yeah.
That was the older generation.
But so they actually end up filming 1917 in Glasgow, or around Glasgow, which was really cool because it isn't.
Nice.
It doesn't really. It feels very like European. You would think that it would have been in France. I think they did film some of it in France or whatever. Wherever it was
in the movie? Where was it set? Like supposed to be taking place?
It was supposed to be France, I believe.
Okay.
I believe that's kind of where the people spoke French, and I believe it was like a French city, but beautifully filmed. There was only so many cuts in the movie, and you know where the cuts happen because like the screen might go black for a second. And you're like, that's where they cut. Yeah. But other than that, I'm thinking how Dane would think. Like, when would they do this?
When you plan out a movie like that, the secret is getting hidden match cuts where people can't tell there's a cut, but it happens right in the middle of the action. When your eye is distracted by something going off in a corner, there can be a very quick cut that takes something from being a digital, composition to, okay, now we're in a real camera position. Like, very sneaky edits can happen. I highly recommend for anybody who's a dork about that stuff and loves it, check out the Corridor Crew channel on YouTube. I highly recommend it. They do this series called VFX Artists React, and it's awesome to learn all this crazy VFX tech that people are interested in. It's funny too. So throwing it out there.
I guess I'll just end on the whole thing. But going back to like they don't know what to do when they fight. There's one scene where like there's all this chaos happening in like this little like burned down city, right? There's all this fire, and one of the main characters is walking through, and he's like panicked, like trying to get through the city, and he looks over and sees like another shadowy figure there, and kind of they stand and look at each other, and they're kind of like stop, like, oh crap, we're about to fight, like we're fighting now, like this is a thing. Like they had no idea like how to, like one guy's like, well, I got my sword on my gun, the other guy's like, bayonet. I'm like, just shoot him, and they're sitting there like, they don't know how to do that type of thing. And so
they still have humanity.
In a lot of cases, they didn't want to. Like, they would purposely miss sometimes just because you don't want to be responsible for the death of another human being unless it's like you're in that moment where it's like, okay, it's either me or him, and they're right on top of each other.
Yeah, just super strange. It was just very strange. But anyways, saw that movie. Fantastic. Did it at the New Real Theater in Eagle, right?
Oh,
they have the Dolby Atmos system.
Yes. I was there for the Knives Out.
Where's that one at?
It's in Eagle.
Where?
It's at the base of the hill. You know,
where
the hill that
T-Sheets
goes up
is?
when you're going up onto the bench.
Yeah.
So on Eagle Road.
Down from
So at the bottom of that hill.
Like right down from
next to
like where that entrance is to that neighborhood.
Where that new developed strip mall with like Red Bench Pizza and all that stuff are.
You're going like Two Rivers and I don't know.
On Chinden and Eagle.
No.
Yeah.
Or
you go down the hill.
Yes.
So you're headed towards State
If you're going
Street.
Yes,
down
correct.
Towards Eagle.
Oh, through that new
Yeah.
development. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over by Two Rivers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I didn't know what that Dolby Atmos system was, but like when you sit there and it says like full surround sound, like they have like all these little things like previewing, and it's like nuts. And I'm sitting here like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So anyways, recommend seeing that movie and that if you can. But did that. Sunday was another day of just literally doing absolutely nothing.
6 hours of YouTube on your phone.
No, I played like Need for Speed. I got some stuff done around the house. I like, cooked. I made food. I did things where I tried to feel like I was doing something, but still my back was just
You
killing
did some
me.
meal prepping, I saw. We
did.
all have a group chat that we do. Anthony started out with a nice meal prep video.
Yep.
Showing off some of the meal prep he was doing. Morgan then chimed in, saw that you could buy that stuff at Albertsons.
Yeah.
And then Nate said that he
same.
did some meal prep as well.
Yeah.
I went in, did my meal prep,
Very nice.
my lunch for today. And then Dane just showed us a picture of his massive TV and a screen door.
Wow.
With ice being blown against it by 30 mile per hour.
Oh, is that
winds.
what you were showing?
Yeah, that's what
I
was
couldn't
showing.
see anything but just a screen.
Which is so weird because it was only there for like 2 seconds as I was panning over and then showing out the screen for a good minute after that. So you guys
Complex.
only focused on the TV.
It was a very big TV. Well, you stopped for
I mean-
what seemed like a very long time. I thought an inordinate amount.
I got a killer deal on it. What can I say?
So
Okay.
I have a question now. We have about 20 minutes left. Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Well,
what elephant?
The elephant.
I don't know. Well, this weekend I got some beverages. I
Okay.
went out and I bought some Mountain Dew,
Very
Diet
nice.
Mountain Dew, of course, right?
Okay.
Because Katie's been, she went and got Burger King, right? And I said, hey, I'm avoiding that, and I'm trying to
So you're-
avoid any fast food, like I
So
said.
you're getting on the soda train like me.
So I'm getting on the soda train, right? So, and I was thinking
Oh,
to
boy.
myself, I'm like, man, I wish I had more room in my fridge to store these sodas and maybe a solution package at work to be able to store
So,
these beverages.
Yeah. So as everyone knows, at the MOSHQ, one of the many amenities is a mini fridge upstairs
Wow.
in the theater.
Right.
And it's usually stocked full. Diet Pepsi, Diet Mountain Dew. Luke Berge utilized its services when putting some of his craft root beers that he purchased to keep them cool, as well as some of his Mexican Cokes.
Yes.
Wow.
I allowed him to put those in. But what I
Yeah.
was really worried about and missing was just something that really spoke to me. You know,
Yeah.
something that I felt we could use.
Yeah.
Something that was graciously donated by a fellow company who's interested in doing a collaboration with the Rag Company.
Ooh.
Wow.
As you guys all saw in the 2020 video,
Yeah.
we've got a new space
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we're going to be needing to fill up. And this company is willing to come online as a collab partner and friend of TRC.
I snuck their name into the title of this episode.
Very nice. So our friends at NewAir.com, NEWAIR. This podcast is brought to you by NewAir. Go check them out. They've got lots of really great devices. They've got some water coolers. They've got some fans. They've got
It's
some
more than I thought it would be,
heaters. They've got
honestly.
some deep fryers.
Yeah.
They've got some countertop ice makers.
Wow.
They also have a number of fridges and wine fridges.
I wonder if they have
for-
Sonic Ice.
I don't know. We could see if they have that type
I
of
would
ice
love
maker.
I love
Sonic
Sonic
But
Ice.
one of the things we're thinking of is getting one of those ice makers for the new space,
Right.
so we could always have ice available for
Yeah.
So,
friends to use.
As far as like something that could even be approaching a sponsor kind of angle, this makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So basically, the other day I reached out, talked to them, and they sent me a fridge.
What?
What?
So
What does it look like?
I see a lot of logos on it, and they're not NewAir. They are
Well, they know
Pepsi.
who I am.
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Wow.
Oh, G. Davis's Mountain Dew Zeros.
Is that real, G. Davis? Because if that's a real thing, I'd be happy to go and get some. But I don't know if you're just messing with me. Because I love Sprite Zero, I love Coke Zero. I'd love to see if Mountain Dew Zero, but Mountain Dew Zero. There's Pepsi Zero. It's Pepsi Max is what it's called.
Yeah, Pepsi Max.
So technically, since Mountain Dew is owned by Pepsi, wouldn't it be like Mountain Dew Max?
Well, they could probably do zero. So I'm
I
going
don't
to take
know.
my headphones off here, slide
Okay.
this sucker over.
Yeah, let's see it.
Please. Show us what's under the box.
Holy smokes!
Is there a
Look at
Christmas
that.
tree in there?
Wow!
Oh, it just slides.
Holy smokes!
Oh
Whoa,
my.
okay.
Oh.
This is the best unboxing video I've ever seen.
See, this is the fun of a
What?
live.
Oh.
We didn't know when this would happen, but that,
man.
wow. Okay.
Levi, this is amazing.
What the heck?
Levi's loving
It's
this.
got a door you can see through the front on.
That's fun.
Oh, man.
That's dope.
See on the other side of my screen there. Let's
Yeah, I'm going to scoot out of the way.
All move out of the way a bit, and we'll put it up when it's a place of honor.
Where are we going to plug it in?
There's a plug-in right behind you, Morgan.
Who is wanting to go to the grocery store to pick up some beverages to fill up this new fridge with?
Down.
Right, Dane?
Hi, Mike. I'm down.
Oh, please be careful.
Morgan, can you grab the bottom of this?
God.
Ooh, that's on there.
Sorry, guys. I'm just going to talk while they're struggling over here. It's quite hilarious. But we're going to be able to have a fridge in here to be able to have cold beverages for our guests and things like that when it comes to detailing-related discussion. We're going to be talking about details here pretty shortly once we get this fridge up on the shelf and talking about just detailing in general.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yes.
Honestly, that's every bit as good in person. It's actually better in person than I thought it was going to be.
It doesn't look cheap. Like, that's a big
No.
thing. You see those kinds of fridges, they usually look kind of cheap. This one actually looks... It looks really
Honestly,
legit.
you could probably fit a couple 2 liters in there, Levi.
I believe 90 cans of soda.
Yeah, you can
Wow.
fit quite a bit in there.
I mean, it's like, what's the rule
Yeah.
with this thing? I mean, can we store our lunch in here? We don't want it to smell like food, right? We want it to be a clean,
It's a beverage fridge.
just beverages. Okay.
We could put some iron brew in it.
Oh my God, what a dream that would be. If only we can get it.
Well, yeah, that's the first step.
One of the weird things is I love the smell of a new fridge.
Oh,
know,
yeah,
I
they
was
always
gonna
have
say
that
that.
scent.
It's like my favorite thing to do as a kid.
Where you're like, this is a new fridge.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice.
Oh, it's
Look at
got a
that.
light in it?
It's got a nice little light there.
Don't normally see that in a mini fridge, so that's...
Normally you have to
Pretty
pay
cool.
extra for that, so this is really just crazy.
Wow.
Okay, so point made.
Very nice,
That's rad.
very
That's
nice.
going to be in the new podcast studio for sure. And we can treat our guests we have when we have them here to,
What are your
some fun
thoughts?
stuff
What are your
kept
thoughts
in the
on
fridge.
glass bottle Pepsi, Levi?
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
So one of the fun things is that I reached out to them, talked about some of the ideas that we had, Dane and I had for what we want to put in the space. And jokingly, I referred to the fact that I really like their Pepsi fridge.
They listened.
So they sent this one to us and said, sure thing, here you go. Have fun with it. And so we're going to probably make a small little video, and we've got the link down below.
Yeah.
But we'll make a small video on us maybe drinking out of it and using it and that kind of stuff, because we do have to give it to them as well so they can use it.
It's
And we'll make some
amazing.
posts and stuff.
It's
But
kind of like being a grand ambassador for them.
yeah, so
Something like
they've
that.
and then they basically said they'd make us an ambassador for their products and set up the new studio space. So when you guys come, all the drinks will be chilled by NewAir fridges, and we'll
But
have some.
Honestly, the
Fun.
fun thing about it is, like, not to be shilly about it, we actually like this kind of stuff, so this makes sense for us.
Well, we need it.
I
You
feel
gotta
like
think
it's
about-
actually, it serves a purpose.
It's something that we're going to be using.
Yes.
Because in the new space, we're going to have a small kitchenette set up for friends of the program who come in. You guys will be using it. It will be
seen.
It'll be
will
seen.
used.
Yeah, and then we want to put another fridge in the training studio so that
Mm-hmm.
when we do have events and things, we build another little kitchenette that people can utilize, so we can have drinks and stuff for folks to use when they're in their training, or anytime we're filming something, or we're doing an open house or something. So the products are going to be available in, like, viewable in all our videos.
Yeah.
So
I'll,
why
I'll be
wouldn't
watching to make sure that a bottle of, like, Optimum Clear Coat Restore doesn't wind up in there in the
But the point is, like,
training center
yeah,
one.
but the point is, like, this is just something that we thought, like,
Yeah.
how else can we get some, we're going to be utilizing them.
Yeah.
We drink a lot of soda.
But
and
it's got to make sense. That's
Right.
the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Is
So-
I don't want to just have any old thing in there. This makes sense.
well, and this is fun. Like, the
Yeah.
fact that they listened and said, oh, you like the Pepsi one? Here you go. Like, that's really cool of them. So
Yeah.
I'm super, super stoked to have NewAir on board.
Same here.
NewAir.com, NEWAIR. Check out some of their great little. They got good prices too on some of their
Yeah.
stuff.
So I
No,
think
it's
we can
actually
safely
legit.
say that this podcast is sponsored by NewAir. Thank you so much. Make sure to stay cool,
That's right.
stay fresh, and
Stay
check out their
frosty.
website. Stay
Boom.
frosty. Okay, so really quick, speaking of frosty, shifting into some detailing here.
Yeah, here we
Because
go.
we got about 10 to 15 minutes left of detailing.
Yep.
I was thinking about this actually just the other day, right?
Yeah.
I went to go open my Honda Civic door, right, when I was leaving for the morning, and I noticed that my door was frozen shut.
Heard
right?
that a few times this morning.
And I've said, oh, crap, my door is frozen, frozen shut. It's got to be time to do something about that, right? Because
Right.
I don't want to keep yanking on these seals because eventually, it's going to start maybe tearing some things or adding some more wear. So
Your 20-year-old Civic.
my
Yeah.
20-year-old Civic, absolutely, right? It's
Okay.
definitely going to rip
Do
something
your
up.
windows have frames or no?
They are framed.
But they are framed.
They
yeah,
are framed,
They are
okay.
framed, right? So I started thinking about it. I said, okay, so this would be a good subject to talk about because this is something that I typically do in the wintertime. I just forgot to do it. Is I prep my weather stripping around my door, right, with product to keep it from freezing and sticking,
Now,
right?
What product do you use?
So typically you can use water-based dressing, right, or you can use something that has silicone in it, right? And so something that there's a product that a lot of people like to use. It's actually it's an OEM Honda part. It's meant for weather stripping and seals and things like that. It kind of beefs them up and makes them feel new again. But I'll either use. I mean, I know some people use Vaseline. I don't want to use Vaseline.
Petroleum jelly.
Petroleum jelly, right, is what you can also use. But I just use a water-based dressing. And I feel like a water-based dressing goes a long way just to kind of help things from sticking and doesn't make a big mess.
I agree with you. I think one thing I did this weekend when I worked on my mom's car was I hit all the jams with just interior finisher.
Yeah.
Bose interior finisher.
Yeah.
Because my towel was saturated in it from wiping all the plastics and everything
But
down.
that did the trick, huh?
And I literally just wiped her corner. I don't know. I have to call her, find out. But I did that also on the car that I worked on Sunday.
Okay.
Same thing. I did just an exterior detail on Sunday, and just kind of a quick interior spruce where I, blew everything out, cleaned up, made sure there was nothing, wiped down the seats again.
Yeah.
But I did that same thing. I wiped out all the door jams and touched up.
Yeah, but this is a
corners.
great subject to touch on because it's something that I don't think many people really think about. And if you live in a warmer climate, it's kind of a non-starter for you.
Yeah,
You don't care.
yeah.
But for those of us who live a little further north and run into this stuff, it's something you don't think about until it happens. And then you go, oh, crap, I should have done something.
So here's a funny thing. The other day when I was doing that detail, right, and I was doing that RX-7.
Yeah.
The guy's girlfriend came into the garage, and she's like, oh, what are you doing? And he explained what I do for detailing and how I polish the paint and things like that. And she says, well, can you polish my windshield? I put scratches in it, right? And I'm like, well, what do you mean you put scratches in it? So apparently this is where she went wrong. The other day when she had frost on her windshield, she was looking for an ice scraper, and she didn't have an ice scraper, right? And she was in a rush, and she was late, and she had to get it all cleaned off. She ended up using a glass plate that she found in her back seat and used that to scrape the ice away.
Was it broken?
Why was there a glass plate?
No, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the plate looked like.
Maybe went to a potluck or
she
something?
used the plate, scratched the living hell out of the window, right? I'm talking bad, right? So I started thinking to myself, okay, so plastic scrapers, for the most part, are pretty safe. I mean, unless you get some type of debris caught up in them, because I've seen glass get scratched. We've all seen glass get scratched. Yeah. Glass can get scratched if a windshield wiper piece of rubber comes off, and it can scratch, right?
And what it's scratching is the laminate.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the problem, is a lot of people think they can polish out that laminate.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, and it's just there forever, right? So I told her, I said, hey, I won't be able to fix that because these scratches are pretty bad and they're kind of all over the place, right? It's not like I can kind of like make it look uniform. It's just not possible. So I told her it'd be cheaper paying $100 to go through your insurance agency because I'd charge her more just to try.
Yeah.
So I told her to get a new windshield, but that's when I started thinking about it, right? You have a lot of these guys they go out first thing in the morning, they get their plastic scraper, but they'll start their car, right?
Yeah.
So they'll start their car, let it warm up, but then immediately start scraping the ice versus the opposite of starting their car, turning on their defrosters, right? And then attempting to scrape the ice once it's loosened up and once it's warmed up. Because I don't know about you guys, but like for my car, my Civic, for example.
Yeah, it sits outside.
It sits outside. Usually within about 5 minutes of warming up, that ice is already broken down significantly on my windshield. And it's probably due to the fact that I hose it in bead maker or I hose it in crystal sealant is what I did to kind of help with that. But I can have my windshield defrost pretty fast to the point where I don't need to do any major ice scraping. So I guess my question is, if you had to choose, right, let your car warm up for 5 to 10 minutes, scrape if needed, if it's even needed, or would you rather just go and scrape it right off the bat?
I don't have time to scrape.
Okay.
So what
I just drive.
So no, what I do is I literally, all my windshields are coated. All my windshields have a secondary coating on top of that, which is usually bead maker or some sort of sealant.
Yeah.
And then I carry in my windshield washer fluid, I use the orange Rain-X.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is a de-icer.
De-icer, yeah.
And so what I do is I literally get in my cars. The ice is usually never that bad. It doesn't freeze in a weird pattern or anything like that. And then I fire up the vehicle, put it on defrost, and then I spray de-icer on the front windshield, and it all wipes. And then my first pass, sometimes my second pass, all the ice is gone. Put the car in reverse, and I'm gone. So I don't have to wait, and my cars are that way. Today was the first day I've actually had to scrape.
Yeah.
My mom had droplets.
Well, it was
ice.
like ice snow, so it formed more ice than just simple powdery snow.
Right.
It was actually.
But I walked up
fusing
to the
stuff
Elantra
together.
and the Suburban to look at them.
Yeah.
I could have gotten in and just driven away. My mom's car was the one that had the weird, because it's not coated.
Right.
So the water that did sit on the surface sat funny on it and then froze. Where my car ran off, and whatever liquid was on it was mostly dew that had frozen.
Well, and I've been paranoid about turning on the wipers before I was sure that ice or snow were loosened on
Have you bought new wipers,
my windshield wipers
for your vehicles? That's one of the first things I bought.
The Explorer has new wipers on it. The reason I'm leery about it was because back when I had my SVX, I burned out the motor in the rear wiper when I turned it on, thinking, oh, this will be fine. I've had the heater on for a minute.
That was an SVX.
And then it turned, hey, I love the SVX. Don't you ever bad talk the SVX. But anyway, it burned out and it just didn't work, so I had to fix it. That wasn't very fun.
Did you roll down the back window on the truck this morning?
No, I did not.
The very, very back one, just for fun?
I mean, I could, but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
That's the best. Honestly, that's the best feature of the whole truck. That window is so wide, you actually could fit a whole person out through there.
Dane puts bodies back there.
So
I'm actually coming to like the truck. It's just boring to drive.
So
but I think I'm going to keep it.
What I'm trying to say is, how can you effectively prepare your vehicle for frozen doors, frozen windows, and things like that from a detailer's perspective that's going to be as safe as possible, right? So I think to myself, what can you put on trim, right, that's going to be having direct contact with paint, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, your outer trim is going into your jamb, which is typically painted. You don't want to scuff up that jamb. You want to make sure the jamb stays nice. So that's where I was thinking a water-based dressing, probably hands down is probably going to be one of the safest things to be able to sit on paint and not really harm anything. I'm not saying soak it. I'm saying apply it, wipe it off, right, and just kind of get it to where it's got some slickness to it. So Shine All, McGuire's 40. You can even use Tire Restore, right, something that's water-based, just to get it onto that rubber, right, get it onto that trim. And so then for your windows, right, maybe when you have some dry time weather, right, you do use bead maker, do use something that's got, some slickness.
Honestly, bead maker's perfect for it.
And keep it from sticking as much, but then also just warm up your car for longer. I don't know. There's days where I'm running late. I don't have time to warm up my car, so I'll just go. But I feel bad scraping windshield sometimes, especially when your cars are as dirty as possible and they have grit and sand and everything like that collected all over the windshield. The chances of scratching that windshield are greater that way. Yeah. And so you're not going to get that with fresh snow if you're using a snow brush. You're not really not going to get that, or if you're taking a mitt and wiping it off the window, it's not really a big deal. But it's when you have that frozen water that's just not going to go anywhere for minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And this isn't so much directed at just people who have to park their cars outside at home. This could apply to anybody, because chances are wherever you work, you probably have to park outside. Yeah. And if a storm comes by during the day and you go out there, you're going to run into a similar situation. So prep is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just because I don't know. Like I saw one neighbor the other day, right, do the hot water thing, and it was about 4 houses down, and I see her because it was funny because I'm standing there and I'm kind of like standing outside my car, throwing my lunch inside there, and I look over and I see her with like this steaming like this. It was like a Yeti cup or whatever it is, like steaming water, and she's walking over there, and I'm like, geez, she's got some hot coffee in that big old mug, right? And then I see her pour it over her door, and I'm like, oh, you risky person, you. That is. Because, you have to think about it. I mean, if that hits the glass the wrong way, if it could shatter something, it could crack something.
It's like that equivalent of the, speed never killed anybody. It's suddenly becoming stationary that did it. It's kind of the same thing when you talk about extreme hot to extreme cold and vice versa.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. But that was kind of my thought on the whole thing. So that's why I wanted to kind of cover that from a detailer's perspective. Maybe water-based dressings. Bead maker on your windows, windshields, maybe a sealant on your windows, windshields.
I think it's all right. I think it's good. Yeah.
I think that would probably be the best way to prepare. And then let your car warm up, before it starts doing the work.
Bait Addict down here says you can't use orange Rain-X on Volkswagen and Audi cars. Apparently clogs up the lines, which I've never had an issue in all the vehicles, and I've been running it for almost a decade in all my cars.
I did notice some older washer fluid would start doing that, so I'd flush the system and put new stuff in there, and then I was fine.
So I think a lot of it also has to do how much, like you said, you don't ever use your windshield washer if you don't have to.
Ever. Like I was actually just about to say that. I'm like, my problem is that
I go through gallons of it.
Yeah. My problem is that I just don't use it. Yeah. I've never reached for it because this is my thought, right? Is that windshield washer fluid, right, even though it's safe, is going to get on the rest of the paint. It's going to get on the rest of everything else. And then it's just going to sit on there and bake on there.
Right.
During the summer, it's going to sit on there and bake on there. During the winter, it's going to freeze on there. Yeah. I think to myself, well, I don't want that on my paint. Yeah. I don't care if it's on my windshield, but I always know it's always going to sprinkle or splatter.
It's going to over
and that's true. My issue is the only time that I'm OCD is on a front windshield.
Yeah.
I cannot abide a dirty windshield or having inside streaking, having spots all over it, having bugs. Like when we go on road trips, like I clean the front windshield because I cannot handle bugs, which is the reason why I coat and put bead maker on my glasses because it washes off a lot easier when I'm spraying with my wiper.
But the point is you still have to clean it.
The point is I still have to clean it. So I use mine even when I get dust or sap or whatever. I turn my wipers on.
Yeah.
And because I'd rather look out of a clean glass. Now, yes, it does bother me when I've cleaned the car's clean and it gets some dust and I'm driving and I hit the wipers and it smears something or whatever. It is frustrating. So I can see where you come from. But for me, I'd rather have a clean windshield I could see through because even the light dust freaks me out. Like I can't see through that.
Well, and you do a lot more road trips and stuff. I imagine you're not road tripping as much.
So you're saying I'm a big driver.
If you're driving a lot and you're spending time not just driving around town, but like on the open highway and you get behind somebody, it's not a matter of like, do I use my wiper or don't I use my wiper? At a certain point, you're going to have to if you're in storm conditions and you're behind somebody on the freeway. If you don't use your wipers in that situation,
but
you're just being obtuse.
But a properly coated windshield, you wouldn't use your wipers because you don't need to.
Properly coated to a degree. However, if you get stuff that's less just simple water and more like slush, snow, other crap flying onto you're gonna have to wipe it away.
I still love having my windshield coated and not hitting my wipers.
No
when
question.
I'm driving.
Like if you can avoid it,
that's my favorite thing. Like I love it. I'm like, yes.
I'm just saying it's not a magic bullet. It's not gonna fix everything.
No. But the key is to just keep it clean, keep it looking sharp, best way you possibly can. So
going back to your thing though, one thing I did one time. This was a long time ago, before I met my wife. I was on a date with a girl once. And I had just like cleaned my car, right? I spent like whatever it was, a couple hours detailing it, right? And it was like a first date with a girl, and I was like, okay, a friend set us up, and I'm like, all right, let's go on this date. And pick her up, we're driving down the road, and a bug hits the windshield, right? Splatters on the windshield, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I even said to her, I'm like, dang it, right when you detail your car, right when you clean your car, this is what happens, right? You always get like a big old bug to hit your windshield. And she's like, oh, fix that just like this. And she reaches over, grabs my lever, right, and pulls it, right? and I see
never grab a man's lever when he's driving.
And so like she reaches over, grabs it, like pulls it, and then I see like the liquid, and I see my wiper blades start working, and
you already knew how that date was going to end.
And I'm sitting here, and I look over.
Well, I could never be with you. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's what you would do, right? But I'm sitting here like, how freaking dare you,
Morgan? Would
touch that lever?
Would you have done that if a guy said that?
Or if Brando just reached over and used it when you were driving?
Yeah, or the roles switched.
Like here's the deal.
Or any guy for that
I
matter.
could have, because I carry a couple towels in my car.
Yeah.
I could have easily pulled over at my destination, sprayed some whatever it was I had on me, quick detailer, spray it on there, wipe it off with a towel. I'm good. The rest of my car is completely clean.
The point is, you literally destroyed a relationship with somebody.
Potential relationship, yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although Anthony would probably say she destroyed it, not him.
No, that was her fault.
So the question,
but it's your psyche.
I'm going to leave this. I want to leave this with everybody that's listening.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about a person detailing their car before a date.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's the only time? Whether your car's always clean, like my cars aren't that clean. They're clean to other people, but in reality, my cars are actually very dirty.
Yeah, by detailer standards, you're like... Eh.
Detailer standards, like the customer that I worked on the exterior for her car's spotless.
Yeah.
She keeps them immaculate. I have to find dirt on them. Like, they are never dirty. But my cars are actually pretty filthy.
You use them.
They're dirty.
Yeah.
But when I clean it, am I giving us false pretense to that potential mate, so to speak, by doing that? Does that make sense?
Well, but remember, by that logic,
like,
somebody
Dane,
going on a date, maybe you shouldn't have taken a shower before you shouldn't have put on a clothes. Just show up.
No, I understand. It's a perception. Did you clean your vehicles prior to taking Liz out that first time?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I usually found preparing for a date meant the date wasn't going to go well. If I didn't prepare, things tend to go better.
Okay.
Well, here's the deal, right? You go on a date, right? As a guy, right? You're most likely, and you're a car person. Your car.
My wife picked me up
on
my date because my license was suspended at the time.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, most of the time, right? You're gonna be a guy. You're gonna have a clean car, right?
Yeah.
Going into a date, right? And that was my thing, is that I always had a clean car. Always make sure my stuff looked really good. But then it was oh, cool, oh, hey, can I use your bathroom really quick? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal, all right? My car is clean.
The bathroom
house is not clean. And then the area behind the toilet where you're supposed to scrub before, but you don't actually do it until somebody important comes over. I didn't do that. Okay. So don't go in there.
Oh,
so that was definitely one of those situations where, I was always good in that one area, but I was always horrible in the other area. And like Katie, for example, first time she came over, I'm scrubbing the back of the toilets. I'm telling my roommates, I'm like, listen, leave the counter spotless. I need this to look great. So she was totally under the wrong impression when she came to the house. She was like, wow, you're so clean. This is so nice. Literally 4 months into the relationship, she's cleaning my counters for me. She's like, this place is a mess.
She regretted it so much that she married.
She's like, how do you clean your cars so
Carly
well?
and I
but
literally
you're so bad
didn't
at
have
this?
anything between the two of us. So her apartment, she didn't have that much stuff.
Yeah.
My house didn't have that much stuff. So we didn't have that much stuff when we moved in together. So it was we just accumulated garbage together.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it worked. Morgan, how was your side? Same with Brando?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Morgan moved out from her beautiful parents' house with an amazing bedroom. Obviously, parents that love and care about her. Shout out to Mama Kelly and, of course, Matt for doing such a great job keeping a tidy house. And then she moved in with Brandon.
No, I didn't. I did not immediately move in with Brandon.
Oh, sorry.
No.
You lived in another apartment, an intermediary.
I lived in a house downtown.
Correct. And how was that house? How was your roommates?
I only had one roommate.
How was she?
She had a cat.
Cool. How is she doing nowadays?
She's doing good. She is looking to find a new job. She doesn't like the job that she's at right now.
She got into fitness modeling, right?
No, that's a different one.
Gotcha.
That's my friend. That's my friend Maddie.
Oh, cool. Right on. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's great information. I just didn't
our
know.
TV went off. So
Well,
maybe that's a sign.
Dane went from his parents' house to your house that you bought, correct? Or you went to California and then you came back home?
Yeah, so basically I lived in my parents' house until my first year of college. I stayed there for the first year of college, and then I moved to California, Ventura, for a year. And then that was really expensive, so I moved back after a year of that and went back to my parents' house. And after having a taste of, like, freedom of, like, having your own place, I wanted it back so badly. So I did everything I could, find any job. I applied to, like, over 300 places. Like, just everywhere.
300?
300 applications. Not
real.
300 places, but 300 applications. Because nobody got back to me.
Oh, because that was during the recession. Because it was, what, 2020, 2019?
It was 2009.
2009? Okay, yeah.
2020?
Sorry.
I was like,
No, so
this year.
Honestly, yeah, it was a rough time. So I took a cart boy position at Walmart, and I just pushed carts. Like, I needed any job I could get at that point to just something. You know, when you haven't graduated college yet, you're kind of like, okay, I kind of dropped out. What do I do? Just find something. I had to do it. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm pushing carts. Can't understand these guys on the radio. Super cool. Then about 6 months after that, I finally got a call and an email back from Home Depot, which I'd applied to previously. During that spur of just like apply anywhere, everywhere, all the things. Yeah. I'll take whatever job I can get. They finally got back to me, and then I joined their merchandising execution team, and I got to travel for them, which was cool. So that was like, oh, okay, this feels more like a job someone my age should probably be doing, because I'm not, a teenager pushing carts anymore. I'm a grown boy, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever. But then I got my own place with a few friends, so it's not really my own place, and then evolved from there. But at least that kind of established it. It was good to get out there, but it's a lesson for everybody. You do it at your own pace. You figure it out. Your parents sometimes determine
when did you buy
for
your house?
I bought mine in 2011.
You were at Home Depot.
Yes.
Working there.
If I could go back, I would have probably lived with my parents until it was no longer socially acceptable, and then just bought a house with all that money I would have saved. Yep. That would have been the best thing to do.
I would have saved a lot of money
charging me rent when I was in high school.
But to me, my freedom was more valuable of just being able to do things on my own schedule and stuff like that. I like sleeping in. Sorry, so. If you're at home, there's a certain expectation. Okay, you're going to help around a place. Totally understand that. Let me get out of here.
See what you do? You know what you do to get over that? You pay rent, and then you're just a person paying rent.
Yeah.
So,
do that
I had to pay rent. I had to buy groceries. So when I got a chance to actually move out, because it was cheaper to move out and live with friends than to pay rent to stay in my own bedroom at my house, that's when I moved out. But then I bounced around, couch surfed, rented a bunch of different places, and then moved into my final place with my brother Pat in 2004.
Yeah.
And then met Carly right in the winter of, like, we started dating in January 2005. And then that's when we got married 6 months later. Moved in together, and literally moved in together the week before we got married. And then it's been the last 15 years.
Wow, amazing.
Surprising.
Nice.
So
we'll end on that positive note, Dane.
Yes.
So take it away.
So that kind of wraps it up, guys. Hopefully you had a little fun watching live. In the future, I think we kind of want to do this more often, because it does kind of streamline the whole process, and I don't think anybody really misses out on anything by it being pre-produced versus live.
Yeah.
So, any rate, guys, hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. If you aren't already, go find that button, click it. It helps us out. Lets other people know, hey, this is something worth listening to and watching. So, guys, till next time, adios.
See ya.
Bye.
Oh, I can't do that.
No, I can't do that. It's over. Oh.
My back
Trapped.
is broken.
Trapped.